Hello everyone and welcome to my series of reaction video. I always wanted to create reaction videos, and yesterday I saw a webinar which really tickled my brain and said like, okay, now we really need to start with those reaction videos. So the idea is that I watch together with you a webinar or a live recording or something like this that is in the test automation area, and we just go through that and look at what is said in there, and you see my reactions live while I'm looking at that. With that being said, let's start. Today's reaction video is about reducing UI test maintenance when applications change. And I guess we all know the problem, the maintenance burden of test automation. So that's a topic for a lot of different webinars out there. Let's see what whoever does the webinar, I guess we will get it soon, has to say about that.
And helps overcome selector drift and brittle UI tests. Sponsored by Keysight, featuring Jeffrey Gardner and Mike Wager. I'm Harry Gagnon, and I'll be the technical support for today's webinar. Before the presentation begins, I'd like to give a quick walkthrough of the webinar interface. On the right is a panel with features to chat.
Okay, we jump over the explanation.
Finally, to optimize your bandwidth for the best.
And thanks for joining our practical demo today about reducing test maintenance. Now, if you work in test automation, you already know the problem. Creating tests is usually the easy part. Keeping them working after UI changes, DOM updates, moved objects, or small application tweaks is where the time gets burned.
Well, I guess we can all relate to that.
That is especially true when teams rely solely on open source tools like Selenium. Now, they can be powerful, but they often need developer skills to create the scripts, developer skills to maintain them, and extra tools when the test has to move beyond a browser into desktop, mobile, legacy, or embedded applications. Now, this demo covers exactly that maintenance problem, including DOM dependency, self-healing, optical character recognition, and testing across multiple application types. Now, I'm joined today by Jeffrey Gardner, Senior Systems Engineer at Keysight Technologies. Now, Jeffrey has a lot of experience helping teams solve exactly these kinds of test automation and maintenance challenges. Jeffrey, welcome. Now, could you give us a quick introduction before we get into the demo?
Thanks, Mike. I'm Jeffrey Gardner, as mentioned, a Senior Systems Engineer at Keysight Technologies. I work with teams looking to reduce test maintenance, improve automation coverage, and validate workflows across different applications and technologies.
I guess a little bit staged right now, but nevertheless, you can be nervous if you're in front of a camera. So let's continue.
Perfect. Right, before we get into the demo, so for anybody watching this, Jeffrey, can you tell me what are the 3 things they will understand by the end of watching this video?
Oh, and by the way, if they are speaking fast, that's just because I'm speeding the video up a little bit.
By the end of this demo, you should understand the following. As you mentioned, 3 things. First, how Keysight Eggplant test can reduce test maintenance by interacting with the application visually instead of depending only on the DOM. Second, scripts can be created, replayed, updated, and checked without needing every tester to be a developer. Third, how the same approach can support broader end-to-end testing across web, desktop, mobile, legacy, and other system types, rather than stopping at browser-based automation.
So you don't need to be a developer. That's exactly what we see as well, as like we coming back from this shift left movement to shift right, where actually classical business users are doing testing and test automation, which is owed to artificial intelligence, bringing more developers to faster pace and stuff like that. So we are seeing that tendency as well. So it looks interesting to have a tool that actually normal users that are not developers can use.
Good. Right. Well, that's the real issue, isn't it? It's not just whether you can automate a test once. It's whether that test still gives you the useful evidence after the application.
And that makes sense as well, right? Automation is not about automating it once. It's about the usefulness afterwards. So yeah, he has some true words in there.
Changes. So Jeffrey, right, let's get into it.
So let me show you what a different approach looks like with Eggplant. One of the biggest pitfalls in
Different approach to, I guess, to Selenium.
Automation testing is test maintenance. Today we're going to talk about and show how Keysight Eggplant test software can reduce test maintenance compared to using an open source automation tool. With that being said, let's get started. If you're using an open source tool or tools like Selenium to run your test automation, you know exactly what I'm about to describe. Automation test maintenance with open source tools such as Selenium can be very costly and time consuming. In order to use Selenium, you not only have to...
Yeah, look at that. Actually, we continue quickly, but that is not fully true, right? The hidden cost of open source test automation is tools like Selenium, no self-healing. I mean, we all know there's Selenium, for example, that does have some kind of self-healing. I guess you could argue that, but nevertheless, if you use pure Selenium, I guess he has valid points.
Have developer level skills to create the scripts, but you have to have developer skills just to maintain your scripts also. Since Selenium is dependent on the DOM, more time is spent reworking scripts, which can delay project goals and timelines when changes occur to the DOM or if there are UI tweaks made to the actual application. With Selenium, you can only work with web applications, so you have to use other tools for other types of applications, such as desktop or embedded systems, mobile applications, or legacy systems. You would not be able to complete full end-to-end testing if you're using multiple types of integrated applications with different technologies.
And I think that's the point, right? End-to-end testing is a term that is used in different scenarios, and he made a valid point where he says, like, end-to-end testing is testing different kind of applications, like in terms of process testing, in comparison when people use end-to-end testing to say, like, I'm testing the same application end-to-end from the first operation to the last one, which is a little bit a different definition of that term, but I guess he is using that in here as like really different applications.
Another key point is that Selenium does not have self-healing or auto-update capabilities.
Yeah, we spoke about that, right?
These topics aren't speaking about edge cases, but to the actual day-to-day reality of test maintenance when using an open source tool. So let me show you what a different approach looks like with Keysight Eggplant test
Now, the different approach.
software. Keysight Eggplant test software interacts with the application through the visual layer just like a human user would. We can interact with the DOM if needed, but we're not dependent on it. Our software is non-invasive, technology and device agnostic. Let me show you several examples. In this example, look at how much code it takes to write a Selenium script just to enter an ID, a password, and to log in. With Keysight Eggplant software, you can accomplish the same task with very
Okay, one could argue that we can generate this code with artificial intelligence, right? So, and I guess it's also made so that there are more lines than required in this example, but okay.
very few lines. Notice that the Keysight Eggplant sense talk is very English-like, and you don't have to be a programmer. From this example, you can clearly see that the script creation is faster and easier.
You don't have to be a programmer. I mean, click field username makes sense. Type text username, I understand that. Type encoder text, no idea. And I do have a development background. I guess if it says password afterwards, that's some kind of encrypted text or whatever, but plain English, don't know.
Easier, which will in turn also allow script maintenance to be completed easier and faster as well. In this example,
I look at the whale, huh? By the way, just look at that.
we're going to show you how easy it is with Keysight software to create a simple script, and then we're going to go in and add some maintenance or enhance the script with an if-else statement to verify something exists on the screen. In this case, in this example, we're going to build a simple script of logging into Salesforce. And then once we're in Salesforce, we're going to click on the Chatter tab. And then we're going to go through and replay that script and make sure it works. And then we're going to show you how easy it is to maintain a script or enhance the script by adding an if-else statement to verify that messages exist on the actual screen. So as we're building our script here, you can see that in this case right now, we're going to check for the Salesforce emblem to make sure it exists with the wait for statement. And you can see how easy it is to build the script. There again, not having to be a programmer.
But by the way, did you see that? Nicely played. Let's get back. So you see the Salesforce logo?
It exists.
And you see the OCR problem here, Salesforce. Nicely played. Didn't mention it, just corrected it.
The wait for statement.
And by the way, kudos for not skipping that part in the demonstration video.
And you can see how easy it is to build the script. There again, not having to be a programmer. Okay, so it's just that quick and easy. In this case, now we're going to use, within capture mode here, we're going to log into our Salesforce, but you can use capture mode.
By the way, does anybody know why he puts that rectangle so precisely around the button? Does that... Yeah, let's see. Let's continue.
To manipulate any element on the actual screen. So here we're adding, logging into the actual script. And notice that we're going to go into live mode. We're going to come back over to the IDE here, and notice that there again, you don't have to be a programmer. As you start typing, you get a virtual, you get the scripting assistant that appears, and then in this case, we're going to click on the text chatter when we replay the script. So here we're going to replay the simple script to make sure it works. And there again, we check.
Wait, did you see that? Actually, click log into the sandbox. He is actually looking for that precise button. So how is that maintainable actually? If it's looking for exactly that size of the button, I guess if we change the size of the button, it doesn't find anymore, specifically if you make it smaller. But nevertheless, let's see. Let's continue.
The Salesforce emblem, and notice we use
looks interesting till now.
OCR to click on chatter. And so it's just that simple to create a script, play it back. Now we want to verify, or maybe we need to maintain our script, and we're going to check for messages. So in this case, we're going to use an if-else statement. There again, you do not have to be a programmer.
What? We do what? We use an if-else statement?
Because we have a scripting assistant.
So you don't need to be a programmer because we have a scripting assistant. Okay, look at that. If condition, then statement when true, else statement when false, and if. That looks like Visual Basic for applications, I assume. But that looks like programming.
And here
let's see what he actually does out of that.
You can see that we're going to enter in a condition. In this case, it's very simple. We're going to choose, hey, if the image is found, we want to look for text messages.
Okay, come on, guys. That is coding. That is development. If image find text messages, that's coding.
And then if we find messages, maybe we want to log a success. Hey, we found messages. And then if not, maybe we log an error and we want to stop the actual script. So in this case, we're logging success. Hey, we found messages. And then here, using the scripting assistant, we can log, you know what, we want to log an error, in which will actually stop the script and show an actual failure. So let's execute and make sure our conditions work. And notice that we were able to find messages. Let's say we ran this script and we didn't get to the chatter tab and something failed. And so we're going to replay this. And upon doing so, it's looking for it's looking for messages on the screen, and it should fail here in the upcoming seconds. And there we can see it failed. We'll stop. We'll say the script failed. We'll stop the script, say OK, and then we can see it actually failed. So you can see it's that easy to create a script, and it's very easy to maintain your scripts or make changes to a script after they're created.
Did we do a change yet to the script? But I don't see the maintenance part of that yet.
In this example, we're going to show you self-healing with Keysight Eggplant software. Specifically, we're going to create a simple script where we double-click on the Firefox icon. Then we're going to move the icon to a different location on the screen. And then we're going to replay the actual script, and then we're going to see the Keysight software self-healing capability appear. We'll choose the correct option. It will adjust the script. We will move the icon back, and then we'll replay the script as well. So here, you can see that we've actually ran the actual script. We're going to move the icon to a different location. And upon doing so, we're going to replay the script. You will see it's looking for the actual icon on the screen, but the self-healing capability comes up and says, hey, I can't find it, but here's an alternative. And in this case, we can apply this to the script, select do this, and then notice that the script continues to move forward and it selects the actual Firefox icon. Now, even if we move the icon back to a similar location and replay the script, you will see it will actually still find the icon. Okay, by doing so, Firefox comes up. So you can see that if the self-healing capability makes maintenance much easier, which will in turn will save time and resources.
Is that self-healing? I would have expected that it still finds the icon even if it moves it. But okay.
Here in this example, we're going to show you something Selenium can't do. We're actually going to run a data-driven script that's going to pull information in from Excel and Notepad and run the information through the desktop calculator, run those equations through, and as it runs the equations through, it's going to...
By the way, guys, remember when he said, like, you don't need to be a programmer? Look at the code in the background that actually did what he just showed on the right screen. My XLDB into Excel data put into the equation of each item in the records of log. That looks like a for loop to me. I would challenge if you don't need to be a programmer to maintain something like this.
Verify the actual results. There again, this is something you cannot do in Selenium.
Wait, give me a second. So did you see that, how he confirmed that? Let's quickly start it from here.
Results.
So the whole thing is about not being flaky, right? Look at that. It is actually interesting. If I understood the explanation correct till now, we are reading a text that is image location text standard. I assume it's this standard O. And then image location text MS, and it's still highlighted. And we do have some hard-coded values in here, which brings the box down, I assume, and up. the minus 25 and the plus 50, plus 55. That's roughly this, the minus 25, and that is roughly double the amount of that. So I guess that brings it to here. And we do have a hard-coded DPI value, which is interesting because, as we all know, DPIs are completely different for different screen resolutions on different systems, right? So how is that not flaky? I assume that script runs exactly on this PC and nowhere else. But let's continue. Perhaps he has a trick in his sleeve.
There again, this is something you cannot do in Selenium.
Okay, so
here we're putting in the equations.
You cannot automate the Windows calculator with Selenium. Okay, that's a given based on technology. But the interesting part is it wasn't about what Selenium cannot do and this tool can do. It's more about having maintainable scripts, right? And non-flaky selectors.
And we're getting we're logging our information. You can see that as well. So something that can run through very successfully with the Keysight Eggplant software. So in review, Keysight Eggplant test software provides the following: a shorter learning curve, scripts are more stable, you don't have to be a programmer, self-healing capabilities.
I look at that. Script fragility. Computer vision identifies elements by appearance, not DOM path. Looks different to me. So it's not a DOM path, that's right, but it's an image plus some deviation and another image plus some deviation. Looks flaky to me anyway. So technical barrier, SenseTalk is readable plain English. Yeah, I guess we don't want to argue that. Testers, not just developers, can write and own test scripts. They can own it, but can they maintain it? I guess you need to learn SenseTalk, to be honest. So it's just, you need to learn another language and then you can use that. So I don't see a difference between learning some kind of programming language in comparison to some other kind of programming language.
It's costing you time, resources, and confidence in your releases. There's a better way. That's what Keysight Eggplant test software is built for. Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks, Jeffrey, for showing that really, really in-depth demo. So we've had some questions come in the chat. So we've got time for maybe 3, 4, maybe 5. Any questions we don't get to, we will contact you after watching the demo. So keep them coming in. But let's get started. So, Jeffrey, the first question we have is, right, if I already have Selenium tests, do I have to replace everything at once, or can Eggplant sit alongside what we already use?
That's a great question, Mike. No, Keysight Eggplant
Naturally, it's a great question, isn't it? Every question is a great question these days.
Can execute your Selenium tests via a WebDriver, or can be used to automate those complex test cases that involve different types of applications and platforms that Selenium cannot automate.
So wait, the Selenium is a problem, but if you don't want to switch to our tools, you can still use your Selenium tests in our tool. And then Selenium is no problem at all anymore? I don't know.
Brilliant. Okay, right, on to the next one. So how would this fit into a CI/CD pipeline? Can these tests run automatically as part of a normal build or release process?
Guess with me, the answer is yes.
Keysight Eggplant software has open APIs, allowing us to work seamlessly with third-party tools or products and within the actual continuous integration and continuous delivery process. Tests can be executed through a command line or through a GUI interface, allowing tests to run automatically as part of a build or release.
Okay,
we need to listen to him in normal speed. Otherwise, it just gives me an impression that he's reading those answers already.
Right. On to the next one. We've got: can this link tests back to requirements so we can prove what has been covered and what has failed?
Another great question, Mike. Yes, tests can be linked back to requirements if executed through Keysight Eggplant digital automation intelligence software or through third-party products.
Okay. What kind of...
The short answer is no. But can we look at his eyes and just...
The third-party products can Eggplant integrate with?
There's a variety. A good example would be some of the Jira products. Due to our open APIs.
So no, he's not reading those from paper. He is actually... That is fine. He's not reading those from paper, so they are not prepared questions. Love it for that. So see, it's not staged at all. That is an interesting thing in those product meetings. So in those product demos, love it. I love it. Let's speed it up again.
We're able to push and pull information as needed.
Wonderful. Right, we've got time for a couple more. So,
wonderful. And I guess that is where we leave the session. Thank you very much for watching. And if you do have any interesting vendor demos or like technical advices on testing, test automation, please send me the link and then we can do a reaction video with that. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.